All right, we're here today answering some questions that have come into Watchbox on Instagram and YouTube. We're gonna read some of the questions and try to give you guys some answers. From Philip from YouTube. So with Hong Kong not taking as many Swiss watches, does this signal the end of the Rolex bubble? Great question. I think we're all aware that probably for the last 18 months to 2 years, Rolex sport models specifically have gone through the roof. I mean, historically, there was always shortages on Daytonas, and that spread quickly to some of the other specialty models. Good news is, yes, Hong Kong is going to be taking a few less watches with the world going the way it's going. The bad news is it's a global issue. Hong Kong is a big market, but this is a phenomenon that's everywhere. Siddiqui built the biggest Rolex store in the world in Dubai, opened about a year ago. There is not a single sport watch in the building. They're gonna still get absorbed up by everywhere. The US will get a few more, not enough to satisfy the demand. I was in Panama 2 weeks ago, walked into a big Rolex boutique, not a single sports model. It's everywhere on the planet. This is a shortage. And I expect until Rolex ramps up production, which will be at least another 2 to 3 years, I don't think this is gonna change anytime soon. So next question coming up, another one from Watchman on YouTube. Whenever there's a market correction for the Patek 5711, do you think that correction will affect other Patek models in general or just the 5711? Great question. I'm gonna say 5711 has become kind of the poster child for what we call a bubble. It was always a watch that sold, but was never super high in demand. It was typically something that actually was available from a dealer in a showcase, sometimes even discounted. And that's when it was an $18,000 watch. At its peak, a 5711 would be trading at $65,000 or $70,000, and you could buy a 3970 perpetual chrono for less. Makes absolutely no sense. A correction was due. You know, this is Dutch tulips all over again. Things have been happening in markets since the 1600s. Patek is never gonna ramp up Nautiluses. So too much demand, not enough supply, and the market got crazy. It is correcting, and you will see other markets get affected because not only did demand for 5711, what happened was 5712 took off, then 5726 took off. So we saw it trickle through other sport models. Now Aquanauts, which was, again, one of my least favorite Pateks, over retail. So it did spread, and I think the drop will spread through other models as well. Great question from YouTube. What kind of fool wants Snoopy on a luxury watch? Ridiculous. That would be me. I love Snoopy. Who doesn't love Snoopy? Charles Schultz, man, come on. You really don't want Snoopy on your watch. So let's talk about collectability, limited editions, and Snoopy in particular. Patek, Rolex, Omega, very formal, very serious watches. This was stuff that's luxury. Why can we have something that's fun on luxury? Go back to Gerald Genta back in the 80s. He took Mickey and put him on a very expensive watch. Hugely successful. Still probably the only really desirable Genta watch today is Mickey. So I think what Omega did with Snoopy was genius. Snoopy was always an astronaut in my head, so it fits perfectly. It's a great watch. Omegas were traditionally undervalued, in my opinion. Was a watch that was $5,000 or $6,000 and has now shot up. But it's limited edition, sold out. Everybody loves Snoopy. The black one still does well. The white one is really the one to have, but I'll be that fool who wants Snoopy on my wrist. Next question that comes in, Datejust or the Submariner as a daily? I am what I describe as a Rolex cripple, so I am probably a good guy to have this opinion. My GMT Batman, I wore it before it became cool. Now it's hot watch, but to me, both great choices, especially now that Datejust has so many selections. When Datejust was 36, it was a little small. I like bigger watches. But now with the new 40s and 41s, Datejust is a great choice. Of course, I'm gonna lean towards the sub. I like it a little more sporty. I think it's easier to wear a sub every day, especially today when we're more casual. I like the rotating bezel. I actually use the rotating bezel. I never go underwater. I'm one of those guys who likes to be on the water, but still the sub, you can do anything in it. It's the ultimate tool watch. If I only had one watch, it would be a Rolex sports watch. Sub's a great choice. And In the 30 years they've been making subs, I don't think anybody really ever lost buying a sub. Sub always has a great demand. It's the most iconic, arguably the most iconic watch in the world. It's the best-selling Rolex model and probably will always be. Interesting question. What makes this watch, the Vacheron Overseas Chrono, special? Always wanted to know. Very good question because, again, I think the Vacheron Overseas is a very overlooked model. The whole steel luxury market started in the 70s. Audemars changed the whole world by coming out with a Royal Oak. Nobody thought of wearing a steel watch as luxury. It was a new thing. Vacheron was a little late to the game. They had the 222, but then came out with the Overseas in '96. Version 1 was very successful. They switched it over to version 2. I think the version 2 chrono is one of the most undervalued watches there is today. We bought one a couple of weeks ago. It's up on the site for around $12,000. That same watch in an Audemars today is $25,000. That same watch in a Patek is $100,000. Back in the day, all three were considered equal brands. Patek has, of course, stepped up over the last few years. But I think Vacheron is grossly underappreciated, and specifically that watch is a great watch. Especially now with the new versions, changeable straps, everything about it I like. What would you recommend for a one-watch guide so to use every day suits the beach? My everyday go-to is GMT. I can wear it with a sport coat, I can wear it with jeans, I wear it to the beach. You will never go wrong. You can do anything in it. Anything you can do, it can do, which is the beauty of Rolex Sports. I have 3 boys, I play golf in it, I play everything in it, and you can wear it to dinner, it's fine. I don't know if it's a black tie thing, but Danny always talks about beach to tux being the most desirable watches today. So my other choice, if you wanted to step up a little more, is a Patek Nautilus. Again, can still handle everything sporty, definitely plays the dressier card even better. Gianluca is asking us, why would Patek discontinue the 5711? That's totally ridiculous. It's been around since '76. Everyone loves the 5711, and they discontinued it. Why on earth would they piss off everybody except watch dealers? Nobody likes watch dealers. I know, that's terrible. 5711, unfortunately, not quite correct, has not been around since '76. The Nautilus, yes, has been around since '76. The 5711 came out in 2006, so it went 30 years before we got to 5711. So there have been many other variations. The thing that made 5711, I believe, so successful is it went back to the original. So the 3700 that came out in '76 was a 42 millimeter cool watch, cushion shape, totally broke the mold, replaced by the 3800, which went smaller. And again, had a good run, then went down to 5711. But now we've had 5711, 5712, 5726. The family of Nautilus has expanded greatly. I do not expect that Patek will ever discontinue doing Nautilus, but I would think we could certainly see a size change. When they did the anniversary Nautilus a couple years back in 2016, they made a 44 millimeter monster. They've done the 5980s in big sizes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a change on the 5711. We might go back to a power reserve. We might go to a dual time, who knows, on a simple watch, but I will think that they will discontinue it. Yes, it will make watch dealers happy because once they do discontinue it, we have a set number of pieces out in the market, and then demand and supply will set itself equal and it will drive the market. What are your thoughts on who is the cart and who is the horse? Do collectors really do the picking, or are we fast followers of the influencers? The cycle is definitely a new thing and it's being repeated. Again, historically, there was very few models that were so sought after that the supply couldn't keep up. Daytona was obviously one that kind of started this craze where people would actually call around and try to buy a watch to flip it. It was never a thing. We used to buy watches just to wear and enjoy, but then the whole flipping market became the thing. Everyone tries to figure out which watches are going to be short supply, which ones they can get, which ones will bid up, and then the traders get in. I think what's happening today, again, the world of the internet gets us out there to get everybody on board, and suddenly 1 million people can pile on a watch that nobody had ever heard of. This year, though, interesting, we saw the first reverse happen. Typically, the press is always very effusive and very positive about the new watches that get introduced, and they want to see and have access to those watches, so it was kind of a quid pro quo. We say nice things about your watches, you take us to good parties. This year, everybody piled on the 1159 from Audemars and really was negative. And it's the first time we saw the market actually kill a watch and drive a demand down for what was arguably a new product that, again, I personally didn't love, but I never saw speculators come in and go the opposite way. So I think the process still exists. We will still see new watches get promoted so heavily and shared so fast that they'll become scarce and rare. But now we can also see the negative effect. And I think with more press, more people looking at watches, you might see some of that change and you might get more honest opinions on what's great and what's not great. That was the last one?
Yeah.
God, this is fun. I could do this all day. This beat's working. Well, those are all the questions we had in for today. Really enjoy doing this. I love getting all the questions. Feel free to keep leaving questions. We'll try to do this on a regular basis. My email directly, if you want to hit me up with something straight, is mmanjos@thewatchbox.com. And hopefully we'll see you again soon to answer some more questions and talk watches.